We are about 10 minutes away from waypoint 1. Again, that is where Dragon will swing up and out in front of the station. And that'll bring us about 220 meters away from station, which will bring us to what we call the docking access, which essentially means that we'll be right in front of the docking port.
Yeah, and we don't have to hold at waypoint 1 as long as we get that clear to move inside the keep out sphere, that 200-meter radius around the International Space Station. It's invisible, helps us monitor the arrival and departure of visiting vehicles. And this awesome view over the shoulder of our commander and pilot, Mike Hopkins and Victor Glover, just monitoring the mission. Dragon is flying autonomously.
We are about 300 meters away, closing in on just about 1 meter per second.
So just about 80 meters to go until waypoint 1. Amazing view of the International Space Station. That's from the cameras aboard Crew Dragon. Both getting a good look at each other.
It's kind of cool to see them both looking at each other as they approach each other.
Absolutely.
And the crew on board also monitoring on their 3 display panels there in front of them. This is all autonomous, so they really don't have to do much except for enjoy the ride. But they do get to watch on those display panels where they're at during this approach here.
You can also see the International Space Station on that far right and the far left panel. So they're getting really the same view that we are right here. I'm sure they're pretty excited about making it to their new home in space. But once they reach waypoint 1, as we mentioned, they don't have to stop. That'll be that 220-meter point. They'll move inside the keep out sphere at 200 meters, and then the next stop will be waypoint 2. Crew will be 20 meters away from the International Space Station. Dragon will focus on aligning its docking system with the International Docking Adapter based on the attitude of the station. And it'll be about 5 minutes from that waypoint 2, the 20-meter spot, until contact and capture. We'll be looking for that CHOP call, stands for crew hands off point 2 meters before contact. And this means the crew is not commanding the vehicle. They haven't been at this time, but the vehicle can still have an abort at that time. However, it will not.
I've got good RPOP data on SSC 17. SSC 4 says RPOP is not receiving Dragon 2 data from PCS. Is that expected?
Copy that, Kate. And Kate, we can go ahead and fix that by cycling it from the ground, or you can perform that task on the SSC, whichever is your preference.
I'll let you guys do that. Thanks.
If it should abort, so at that point the crew would not be commanding anything. However, everything's still looking healthy on Dragon and on the International Space Station.
And this view that you're seeing here is from the station, from the Node 2 docking port that Dragon is currently approaching.
This is really our first view of both of them in the same picture, so it gives you a good perspective on how close they're getting to each other.
Yeah, you can see in that left-hand bottom corner, that is the station, and that white dot on your right, on the right side of your screen, is Dragon slowly approaching. We're just under 5 minutes away from waypoint 1. We're under 280 meters away from the station.
A little more off capture ring will then begin retracting. It'll retract until sensors indicate it's time for these hooks to drive.
I see good RPOP data on SSC 4. Thanks.
Copy, Kate. Thanks.
She discussed, she used the term RPOP, that stands for Rendezvous and Proximity Ops. program, and so that is giving her insight into Dragon's position and how it's moving in toward the International Space Station. She'll have some work to do once Dragon arrives, but not until it gets there. But once Dragon arrives, the Node 2 hatch where they are docking is currently closed on the station side.
Dragon, SpaceX on the Big Loop, approach 1 and soft capture ring extension will begin shortly. Dragon will continue approach to waypoint 2.
Okay, Dragon copies. Soft capture ring will start here in approach 1.
Crystal clear view of Dragon as they get the words that everything is still looking good with the systems, and they will be moving through waypoint 1 to waypoint 2, and that they can expect that soft capture ring we were discussing to extend, begin preparing them for docking.
We're about 240 meters away, so we're just about a minute away from passing through waypoint 1. And we're so close that you could see the forward bulkhead thrusters on Dragon there. It's basically those 4 kind of circles that you see in the ring where the nose cone is opened on the top of Dragon there.
Dragon continuing its slow and steady approach to the International Space Station. Every single maneuver very deliberate when we have 2 vehicles this close in space, about 226 meters away.
Again, what you're seeing on your screen, on your left-hand screen, is the view from the International Space Station looking at Dragon. On your right-hand screen, that is a camera view.
Dragon, SpaceX on the Big Loop. Expect reconfiguration of the C2V2 return link shortly.
CAG copies.
And we have passed waypoint 1, Dragon now about 213 meters away from the International Space Station. We also just heard the core speaking with Crew Dragon to expect a reconfiguration of C2V2. That stands for Common Communications for Visiting Vehicles. It establishes bidirectional communications between Crew Dragon and the International Space Station.
Now we passed through waypoint 1, so we're about 10 minutes away from waypoint 2. Once we approach waypoint 2, then we will do a go, no go poll for docking. So we're, again, around 30 minutes away from docking here, depending on the timeline and when we reach each one of these points. We're on our way to waypoint 2, which will bring us about 20 meters in front of the space station.
We moved right through waypoint 1, right through the keep out sphere, that 200-meter invisible line around the International Space Station that helps flight controllers monitor visiting spacecraft. But we will have to hold at waypoint 2, that 20-meter mark. They'll conduct their final checks, prepare for arrival at the International Space Station. A very clear view from Crew Dragon.
That looks incredible. Again, this is a view looking at Dragon from station from the Node 2 forward port that Dragon will be docking to today.
Eastern Station on Space to Ground 2 in step 2 of 1.104. I've just commanded. On RPOP reference frame to destination docking port, and I see RPOP not receiving Dragon 2 data.
Copy all, Kate, we're checking.
Flight teams in Mission Control Houston continuing to check that RPOP Rendezvous Proximity Operations Program.
Station Houston 2, we're going to reset RPOP one more time for you, see if that works.
Thank you.
They're resetting some of that data for Kate Rubins. A reminder, she is not commanding any part of Dragon's arrival. She is monitoring it, though, and so looking for some of that data in that program.
Again, we are on our way to waypoint 2, which will be 20 meters away from the station. Once we reach waypoint 2, the vehicle will focus on aligning its docking system with a docking adapter, so preparing for docking, and there will be a go, no-go pull prior to initiating that soft capture approach.
Here's that same view we were looking at earlier, and you can see even how much closer Crew Dragon has gotten in just the short time since we last received it, having moved through waypoint 1 since that time period. A little bit more about what Kate Rubins will be doing once Crew Dragon docks. As we mentioned, the Node 2 hatch is closed during the docking, the station side Node 2 hatch. Kate Rubins will check for a leak and then open it for access to the pressurized mating adapter 2. She'll also manually pressurize the vestibule. That's the area between the A-Pass hatch, which is on the station side, and the Crew Dragon hatch. The A-Pass hatch is what is currently exposed to the vacuum of space. It also has a docking target on it that allows Dragon to align itself with the port. Once that pressurization is complete, Kate Rubins will be able to open the A-Pass hatch to let some air in. It's a slow process. She'll be opening a valve specifically on the A-Pass hatch to let that air in. And we'll hold for thermal stabilization before we do some leak checks in the vestibule. We want to make sure that there aren't any fluctuating temperatures that are giving us misleading signals on what the pressure is in the vestibule. We'll conduct the leak check for that space between those two hatches. In the meantime, the crew is doffing and drying and stowing their suits during that thermal stabilization and leak check. They're stowing their equipment. Kate will open the A-Pass hatch and remove the docking target. Almost 2 hours post-docking, these checks are taking place during that time. We will look for Dragon's hatch to be opened.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop. C2V2 link reconfiguration is complete. The soft capture ring extension is also complete. We are planning to hold momentarily at waypoint 2. At that point, we will be asking for your input on lighting conditions and your go to proceed. Do remember that your visors are not required to be down until our final approach.
Okay, Dragon copies all, and we'll be holding momentarily at waypoint 2, and we will give you a good lighting check at that point.
So as you heard, we are on our way to waypoint 2, which will be 20 meters away from station, and we will hold and do some checks, do a go, no go poll to ensure that we are okay to approach for docking. And we did hear confirmation that the soft capture ring is extended and ready for that docking.
A few minutes ago, we heard them discussing C2V2 common communications for visiting vehicles. They said they would reconfigure that system and just got good confirmation that it has been reconfigured. That's those bidirectional communications between station and Crew Dragon.
Station Houston on 2 for Kate. We're still troubleshooting the RPOP issue you're having, so we're coming on board on SSC 17 and we'll try to fix that.
You are welcome to SSC 17 and also SSC 4, the main RPOP computer.
Copy all, we'll get it working.
Mission Control Houston checking back in with Kate Rubens aboard the station, who is working to monitor Crew Dragon's arrival. As we mentioned, she is not commanding anything that Crew Dragon is doing, and neither are the crew themselves. This is completely autonomous, but she is trying to monitor some of that data, and so team members in Mission Control Houston are going to try and reconfigure the RPOP system, Rendezvous and Proximity Operations Program, from the ground.
You can see on your screen, again, this is a view from station from the Node 2 port that Dragon will be docking to. You can see the sunlight hitting Dragon as it gets closer and closer.
It's starting to get a little bit darker outside as well. That's because the International Space Station and Crew Dragon are approaching an orbital nighttime. They are in daylight for 45 minutes and nighttime for 45 minutes, circling the globe every 90 minutes. They're currently flying 260 statute miles over the Pacific Ocean. You're looking at a live view of Mission Control Hawthorne here at SpaceX headquarters in California. And if you noticed, we have lost video temporarily of Crew Dragon as it's approaching the International Space Station, but that's really no surprise to us. It's something called a TDRS handover, tracking data and relay satellite system. Teams on the ground are able to track when the space station and Crew Dragon will be moving in and out of these handover periods. And we expect to regain video communications with the space station very shortly. In the meantime, it continues. Crew Dragon continues its approach to waypoint 2. And we have those views back already. As you mentioned, Jesse, you can really see those 4 forward bulkhead thrusters the closer we get.
Oh, wow, and you can really see the detail on the International Space Station with how close we are. We're approaching waypoint 2, which will be 20 meters in front of the station. That's why you could see it so close up in that last view.
Hazard.
Station Houston on Space Ground 2 for Kate.
Again, 2.
All right, Kate, SSC 17 is back up and running for you. We're working on 4 now. In addition, let us know when your review is complete and you are ready for docking.
Copy, and I saw SSC working. It's giving me good range and range rate. Now I've got another RPOP is not receiving Dragon 2 data from PCS message. launch on 17.
Copy that, Kate. We'll take a look. Thanks for the extra info.
And we've now reached waypoint 2, so we are holding this position. Going to do some
And I do have a good Dragon docking system view on SSC 17 for the Dragon docking streaming monitor, and I have a good out the window view, so I am comfortable and my review is complete.
Copy all. Thank you.
Great news from Kate Rubens. She has the data she's looking for and a great view of Crew Dragon out the window as well. So she's given her go for them to depart waypoint 2 and move into the International Space Station. As a reminder, we moved directly through waypoint 1, which put us directly in front of the docking port. You can see it right here. That's the Node 2 forward port where Dragon docked during Demo 1 and Demo 2.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. The ground is go for approach 2. At this point, please confirm that the lighting conditions are acceptable to proceed, and let us know if you are go for approach 2 and docking.
Okay, SpaceX, this is Dragon on the big loop. So the lighting is actually getting worse. We do have a view of the IDA, but we do not have a view of the docking target.
In Dragon SpaceX, we copy. We are 6 minutes from sunset. Would you like to hold for those 6 minutes, or do you feel comfortable proceeding?
Bye. And SpaceX from Dragon, we'll go ahead and hold for those 6 minutes if we can.
We copy hold.
Crew Dragon crew has opted to hold at waypoint 2 for the time being so they can get some better views of the docking port, the docking target on that APAS hatch we were discussing that's on the International Space Station. So they can hold here, and that will give them the opportunity for sunset to come over both the International Space Station and Crew Dragon. There won't be any odd shadows, and they should have better visibility. Of course, the crew themselves are not making this maneuver in toward the International Space Station. It is autonomous. Crew Dragon will be doing it by itself, but we want the crew to be able to see the docking target so that they can properly monitor as the vehicle continues to make its approach to Node 2.
And the ground is go for docking, but we are just waiting for us to get a little bit more light so that Dragon can actually see where it is going to autonomously dock, see the target on Node 2 as it approaches so it can make that soft capture accurately.
We're in another one of those satellite handovers we just discussed as well. We should get video communications, oh, right there, coming back. And as we mentioned, Dragon is holding at waypoint 2. That's 20 meters away from the International Space Station. They are holding until we reach sunset, an orbital nighttime for the spacecraft. Once that happens, they will proceed in toward Node 2. It should take about 5 minutes.
And as a reminder, waypoint 2 is about 20 meters away from station. We are on the docking axis, and Dragon will be aligning itself with that docking port. We're just holding for some sunlight.
This hold continuing for another few minutes. The space station has crossed the terminator line, the difference in day and nighttime on Earth. They are east of Hawaii right now in the Pacific Ocean, and they are waiting for the sun to set on orbit. Crew Dragon will be able to use its infrared camera to spot that docking target on the APAS hatch on node 2, and then they'll be able to proceed, leaving waypoint 2, making their 5-minute journey approximately to docking.
And I should correct what I mentioned earlier. They're waiting for the sun to go down so that they don't have any shadows, so that Dragon can actually see clearly and locate, align itself with that docking port.
As a reminder, we had a confirmation that the soft capture ring extended. That'll be the first part of capture. The soft capture ring, there are also rotary spring dampers that will soften the contact once Dragon's soft capture ring comes in contact with the International Space Station, and then the ring will retract until sensors indicate it'll be time for hooks to drive. We're looking for 12 hooks, 2 different gangs of 6, to firmly secure Dragon to the International Space Station. That entire process, from contact to hard capture, can take about 13 minutes. We'll be standing by the entire time to make sure all of that goes smoothly, but everything looking good right now for Crew Dragon, still holding about 20 meters away from the International Space Station. And it looks like we might be about a minute away from sunset. So we should be hearing that call that they're ready to proceed. Again, there's no rush. And there's also no need for the crew to fly Dragon. This is all happening autonomously. Just a few more seconds until sunset. And you can see it did get quite a bit darker. And that flash on the node 2 docking port coming from Crew Dragon. We do like the crew to be able to see this docking, even though it's autonomous. That helps them monitor where they're at and take control if need be. However, all of Dragon's systems looking good, and we're just standing by for that departure from waypoint 2, 20 meters away from the International Space Station.
We are currently go on the ground for docking, but we are waiting for the crew to confirm if they are ready. We are waiting for the crew to confirm.
From Dragon on the big loop. Looks to us like we've gone through sunset, and we'll get the lights strobing. We can see the target, and so we are go to proceed. Visors are down.
Copy. You are go to proceed and visors are down. That's great to hear. We will be commanding the resume shortly. And as a reminder, once Dragon is inside the crew hands-off point, retreat and breakout are not permitted.
Dragon copies all.
Station copies all. I'm ready.
We've got confirmation that we have go from the crew. So they will be starting this procedure shortly. We'll start approaching that docking adapter that you see on your screen. Once we get close enough, we will do a soft capture, followed by the insertion of the pins for the hard capture.
We also heard the Corps mention once that we reach the crew hands-off point, that's the chop call we'll hear. Retreat and breakout are not permitted. And that would be from the crew. The vehicle can still abort if necessary, but as we said, everything continuing to look good for Crew Dragon, ready to depart waypoint 2. The final approach has begun. Crew Dragon moving in toward the International Docking Adapter on Node 2. Kate Rubin standing by on the International Space Station, monitoring their approach.
And this should only take approximately 5 minutes. So not too long.
Their arrival at the International Space Station today will be coming about 27.5 hours since their liftoff last night at 7:27 p.m. Eastern Time from Kennedy Space Center in Florida aboard a Falcon 9 rocket.
We are now about 15 meters away, just about 3 minutes from docking.
Very slow, deliberate, steady movements for Crew Dragon making its way to the International Space Station. We'll be looking for soft capture first, with the soft capture ring already extended. Once we have soft capture, the ring will retract and bring us into a hard capture. That should take about 13 minutes for that entire process, firmly securing us to the International Space Station. And then we'll move into leak checks.
And SpaceX from Dragon on the big loop, we show 10 meters. We've got good lighting, good visuals.
Great to hear. We see 10 meters as well.
Even though it looks very slow right now, both Dragon and the International Space Station are traveling about 17,500 miles an hour over Earth right now, both about 262 statute miles over the planet. We heard just a few moments ago, too, that the crew had reached 10 meters away from the International Space Station, so already halfway there from waypoint 2. We're only about a little over a minute from docking.
You can see on those display panels the crew watching as they approach that node, port 2. And what you could see directly in the center of the docking adapter, that is the APAS hatch. Once we do a hard capture and do leak checks, that will be the first hatch that will open, followed by the Dragon hatch.
If you look closely in the center at the very bottom, there was Chop, crew hands-off point, standing by for contact.
Dragon SpaceX, soft capture confirmed.
Dragon copies, and we see the same.
As you heard that call out, soft capture is now complete. Next will be hard capture. This is where the pins will insert themselves into that docking adapter and create a hard lock.
And we had that soft capture at 8:01 p.m. Pacific time, 11:01 p.m. Eastern time. Crew Dragon and the International Space Station flying 262 statute miles over Idaho.
Dragon SpaceX, soft capture ring retraction in progress.
That call confirming just what we're looking to hear. The soft capture ring is retracting. We're looking for sensors to indicate it'll be time for hooks to drive, create that firm hold on Crew Dragon. So this can take several minutes, maybe about 10 to 13 minutes. But slow and steady wins the race. Crew Dragon is now at the International Space Station. This view over the shoulder of our commander and our pilot, Mike Hopkins and Victor Glover. They are watching this all unfold via these 3 displays.
We've got some folks here watching as we confirm that soft capture there. Everybody's pretty excited. I'm getting really excited. I can't wait. They're almost done. This is the home stretch.
So once again, we had contact, soft capture confirmed at the International Space Station for Crew Dragon at 8:01 p.m. Pacific time, 11:01 p.m. Eastern time. Both vehicles were flying 262 statute miles over Idaho. We're now in the soft capture ring retract period. We'll be looking for that ring to retract fully. These sensors will indicate that we are ready to firmly connect with the International Space Station. That's called the hard capture. And that means it'll be time after that to begin leak checks, suit doffing or taking off their suits for the crew, eventually hatch opening. So all those steps might take a couple of hours, but we will be here for their first, I can't say steps inside the space station, for their first floats inside the space station.
Houston Station, undocking complete. Sensor 1 and 2 are off. OFS timer has been started.
Dragon SpaceX, ring retraction complete. Docking sequence is holding for MCS reconfiguration.
Okay, Dragon copies all, and we are opening our visors at this time.